My name's William, welcome to African Fingerstyle Guitar. Today's tune we're going to be looking at Achibaba by Filles De Illighadad. Now there's a cool origin story to this band, and I'd encourage you to read about it and check it out, but we're going to be looking today at the opening song of their first album. Now this is my favourite album of theirs because it's really stripped back and it's just basically guitar and voice for much of it. Filles De Illighadad are a Tuareg band, a style of music that's gained a bit more popularity recently with other bands like Tuareg and artists like Bombino, and this is actually a fairly new discovery for me. Since first hearing them, I really love their music. Lots of people have sent me them as a recommendation to listen to, and I'm so grateful for that because I think they're a wonderful group of musicians. For those of you who are new to this series or just checking in on this one song, I'm always going to give an exercise at the beginning of the lesson. This will help you to develop some of the important skills needed to play the tune, and generally it's going to help you understand a little bit behind the construction of the music rather than just seeing the music as a sequence of random notes. A really common feature of Tuareg music is to have a pedal tone. This is a note that's played underneath the whole tune at a constant rhythm. This pedal tone provides a counterpoint to all the melodic, rhythmic, and harmonic ideas of the tune. Very often our pedal tone will just be quarter notes or in sixes, but sometimes we have these quite complex, irregular, but periodic rhythmic patterns, and this is one that we're going to be practicing today. Now the rhythm that we're going to be learning today, I think is best learned not by counting, but by understanding the way in which the thumb will interact with the fingers on the right hand, but also the slurs on the left hand. That's the hammer-ons and pull-offs, our little ornaments there that are going to be really important to this tune. So to begin with, what we're going to do, we're going to learn to play this basic pedal tone with the core essential of the groove, stripping back some of the ornaments and complexity, and we're going to slowly build them back in, and actually by the time you finish the exercise, you're pretty much going to be able to play the tune. The pedal tone doesn't actually begin on beat 1, but on beat 1 we do have a note that is ringing out from the previous bar. That's going to be the notes that are notated in brackets on the score. Now this tune is in 6, and our first 3 beats are going to be all in 8th notes, and our pedal note is going to come in on the and of 2. On beat 1 we have a hammer-on, 1 and 2 and 3. The pedal note is always on an A and is usually followed by another A an octave up. And we're going to do this on beat 4. So it'll be worthwhile just getting used to this. Next we have a really challenging part to coordinate. We have a pull-off from our A to our G, but we play a bass on the G. It's quite a hard one to get right at first. And then we come straight in with an E. Then we do a hammer-on from the G to the A, but hitting the pedal tone on the A. That whole move is like this. That's a fairly challenging move. It'll be worthwhile taking it really slow before you work it into the groove. After that, we can tie those 2 halves together, which will sound something like this. I think it's worth spending a long time on this before moving on, getting it up to speed, because such an important part of this tune is the thumb doing this rhythm, which it does the whole way through the tune, but although it is periodic, it's very irregular, and consequently you don't want to be thinking about it at all. Beats 4 to 6 in the bar will be consistent throughout the whole tune, which means that really challenging part we're not going to vary. So that makes it a little bit easier, but it's well worth getting used to that rhythm before moving on. This tune is played with a capo on 2, so any note names I refer to are going to be using with respect to the capo. So Although this is a concert A, I'm going to be referring it to a G with respect to the capo. This tune is an A Dorian. That's the second mode of G major. Now the relative minor of G major is E minor. So our scale that we're going to be playing is E minor pentatonic. So our scale that we're going to be playing is E minor pentatonic, which are the notes E, G, A, B, D. But because we're playing in the Dorian mode, we're going to be playing starting from the A. Another way we could think about this is the third mode of the E minor pentatonic. A, B, D, E, G. So these are all the notes we're going to be playing. This is like our minor pentatonic, but instead of the minor third, we have the second. Quite a bright minor sound because it doesn't have that minor third in it. Our first variation is to replace the third beat of the bar. That's the melody note after the first bass with the notes from the scale, one at a time. So that's going to sound something like this. This is going to help us get used to the sound of the overall melody throughout the tune. It's by varying this note here that we can create a sense of journey in our tune. There's one rhythmic variation of beat 1, where instead of playing 1 and, we're just going to play 1 on the D. And so what we're going to do is replace the next two melody notes with descending adjacent notes from our scale. That's going to sound like this. We can see how there's some nice melodies that are already forming from this. All of our melodic ideas in this tune are going to be formed from variations of those two rhythms, combined with some ornaments. And so it's worthwhile trying out some of these yourself and seeing how you can make some lines that go somewhere and that resolve. Going to the A is always going to be a way to resolve the lines, and we can make descending lines or ascending lines. Going from the E to the B to the A is a very common melodic pattern in this tune. Going from the G to the B to the A is another common pattern. Once you've practiced this, we've got most of the tune already. The tune has 4 different refrains, which are comprised of those 2 rhythms that we've looked at from the exercise. In North African, Arabic, Middle Eastern, Turkish music, we're often going to find something at the beginning called a taksim, and this is a moment of improvisation and elaborating some of the melodic and harmonic ideas before the tune actually begins. This is going to be present in basically all of the tunes from Les Filles De Illighadad, and is a common feature in Tuareg music as well. I've transcribed just a couple of the ideas that are present in this, and actually it's not something that's overused by this band. We're just sort of establishing our harmony as A, going between the upper octave and the bass, and then we have this little line laying out the other notes from our pentatonic scale, and then back to the A. And although we're playing in the Dorian mode, this means ultimately we are in the key of G. And so we can play some Gs during this. It will sound quite nice. Play some Ds as well. This is a chance for you to really express yourself using the rhythms, melodies, notes of this tune that really resonate with you. Our most common bar is our bar 1 of refrain 1, and we're going to be using this in every single refrain. And the only difference we're going to have is we're going to do this really fast pull-off before the B. In that exercise, we've been letting the B ring out, but now we're going to dampen it. And it's going to be really easy to dampen it as we play that A. And that's the only difference. So, it'd be good to practice this one on its own for a while. Nice and slow, that's like this. Bit faster. We do this 4 times, and then we have a little variation. Instead of pulling off from the C to the B, we're going to be doing a little trill on the D and the open B. Now these ornaments are very common in Tuareg, North African and West African music. I've talked about these in my lesson 1, and really the secret to these is to be as light and soft as possible. We don't need good clarity among the notes, but really this is more of a textural thing. Have a listen to the tune to see how they voice them, but we're aiming to be solid in the groove. We're not aiming to have every single note that's on the score heard perfectly. Our pedal note is on the and our B is on beat 3. So tapping your foot to make sure you're there for the B in time is quite important. Then we bring in the second half again. Refrain 1 ends with bar 1 repeated again. I'm going to refer to this as our main groove. Refrain 2 begins with our main groove again. Then we have a variant on our bar 2 from refrain 1, where instead of trilling and going to the B, we're going to trill and go to the E. We do this twice, then trill to the B. Then we do our main groove twice. Altogether that sounds like this. For refrain 3, we're going to use that rhythm that we looked at in the exercise, where we have on beat 1, instead of 2 1/8 notes, we have 1 1/4 note. But we are going to do a very quick hammer-on from the B to the G. Notice how the melodic pattern is just the same as that exercise variant we looked at. We do the same again, but instead of going from the G to the E, we go from the D to the B. And then back to the main groove. And we do that twice. So altogether that's... Refrain 4 just uses that second bar from refrain 3 and the main groove. We do that second bar from refrain 3 once. We repeat that line, but only with the main groove once. And that's it. That's the whole tune. One thing to note about how the bars are made up of on all those refrains, I've approximated what they play in the recording of the album. However, these are not fixed. And depending on how the guitarist is feeling or how the singer is voicing some of their lines, it may be that a main bar is repeated once, twice, or 3 times. There's not a regularity in how these bars are stuck together. That being said, Refrain 1 works really nicely just to open up the tune, introduce the audience to the general groove they're going to be feeling. Refrain 2 very nicely punctuates and closes a particular section. And what Les Filles De Illighadad do is they play Refrain 1, Refrain 2, and then is when the singing comes in. Now the singing comes in with Refrain 3 and Refrain 4. And this is repeated a couple of times. And it's a really nice thing for you to be following the melody line with your voice as well. That works. Ba, da, 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 So this is going to be a really nice way of you being able to make the tune your own, perhaps with some of your own lyrics as well. Once you've done some singing, use Refrain 2 to punctuate that off. That's a really nice way to close off a section. Go back to some singing, close it off. And then when you want to end, do Refrain 1, Refrain 2 to close it off, and then you can end on a little bit of improvisation, further developing some of the ideas that you established during the introduction. And just let it ring out. Thank you so much for watching this lesson. I really hope you played along with the tune. As always, if you do record any version, send it to me. You can find me on YouTube or Instagram. I'm making these lessons so that you can enjoy playing these tunes that I love to play so much. Do you have any other artists or songs or styles that you'd like to learn to play? I got a few more lessons cooking for this series. I'd be keen to hear any of your input about other tunes that I can include. My name's William. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.